right, we will call the December 3, 2025 meeting of the Barrett Planning Commission to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I believe there are agendas at the front of the room for anyone who's interested. And at this time, it's customary for the Planning Commission to take public participation on agenda items. We also take participation at the end of the review of each item on the agenda. Is there any public participation at this time? Okay, hearing none, then we'll move on to the approval of the meeting minutes from November 5, 2025. They've all been circulated by email. Does anybody have any additions or corrections to those minutes? I had a minor correction. Bill Pipolo should be listed under those present, and
I think they corrected it.
sent that
Yeah, they
to
corrected it.
Bill.
Yeah, he's on there now.
Any other additions or corrections to the minutes? Then they will stand approved as presented and amended. Non-agenda correspondence, none. New business, none. Old business, 1, 2, 3, Forbes, Green Gables Land Development, action date, February 3rd, 2026. That is a land development application. It was submitted at the November meeting and accepted as complete for review. It's been passed on to the township engineer for her review, and I understand that comments have been submitted to the applicant regarding the land development application. With that, we received an email today. It says, Nicole, sorry, Mr. Call ran out to get a voice, blah, blah, blah. On behalf of the applicant, Devin Marks, I would like to request that the Green Gables Land Development Plan be tabled at the December 3rd, 2025 Planning Commission meeting to allow us time to address the engineer's review. If you need to discuss anything further, please call me. Thank you, Ty Scott. So the applicant's requesting that it be tabled at the meeting tonight.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we table the application for the 123 Forbes Green Gables Land Development.
And I'll second that. Motion by Patty, second by Brick to table the plan for tonight. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And the motion carries. Plan is tabled. Sure.
There are 3 RVs over there. Where is the septic going?
That's not something the planning commission would be able to answer. That's a question for township and employees. The planning commission doesn't know anything about that.
Carol, if you'd like to address those with me, during regular business hours or at a supervisor meeting, I'd be happy to address that question.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay, moving on. Continued review of Chapter 375 Property Maintenance Ordinance Changes. Just for a little memory recollection, the ordinances proposed, I believe there were 6 total, the review initially began October 7, 2025 at that meeting. That was at the time that the data center ordinance was proposed and before it had been finalized for review by the Planning Commission. So we began the review of 375 property maintenance ordinance changes. And at the time we got through the first section, which I believe was the property maintenance code. I'm going to read from the meeting minutes from October 7, 2025, regarding where we left off. And this is now in section 2 regarding the quality of life ordinance. Bricklander moved on to part 2, chapter 375, Quality of life, Rick asked if there were any questions regarding the definitions. Ralph Magliola made a motion to strike the entire definition of weeds from Part 2, quality of life, due to it not appearing anywhere else in the ordinance and there being no regulation on weeds. The board agreed and the motion carried. Rick Linder moved on to 375-8, prohibited conditions, under subsection A, which references township permits displayed in a fashion that makes them visible from the public roadway. It's his opinion that it did not belong in Part 2, quality of life, portion of the maintenance ordinance, because it was a building code issue. PC members agreed. 375-8, subsection B, was discussed by the PC members and the public, and that 7 days is not a reasonable amount of time to remove scrap or refuse from personal property. Rick Linder asked if 30, 45, or possibly 60 days was a reasonable amount of time. Township cleanup schedules were also discussed. And the meeting was adjourned then at 6:45 p.m. So we got as far as 375-8, subsection B at that meeting, and we'll continue from there tonight. So who would like to begin?
No, we're at 375-8, then.
375-8, subsection B.
So the discussion was if it's not 7 days, is there another period of time that you'd like to recommend?
Any comments from the board?
And I thought that's where we went with the idea of 30, 60 days.
We didn't make a decision, we
Oh, okay.
discussed. Okay. I'll make a motion that we make it 60 days from the time of notice for the time, until the time of removal.
I'll second that, it seems reasonable.
Okay.
I think we talked last time about not necessarily going through and making motions on anything, but keeping a running
Okay.
list of proposed changes and then
Fine.
moving them
Okay.
on.
Do you
Just
agree with
time-wise,
60,
we don't
Bill?
have to-
That's what I thought.
Do you want it less?
Yeah, 60 seems a little excessive to me, if there's an issue. I mean, you got a neighbor that's got to look at it for another 2 months after they're given a letter from the township.
Well, no, what this says is that such items must not remain on the property for more than X number of days. So I would think the township would start counting when they see it, and once it
From when
gets
they're
to
cited?
X, then the citation time is different, it goes underneath
Okay, so this
the-
is when the township physically sees it and gets in touch with the,
sees it and
homeowner.
says, like, notices that you have a broken appliance on say you have it in your driveway.
right,
They notice it on July 1st. If they come back August 1st and it's still sitting there, then it's been sitting there for 30 days. And then, say we said it was 30 days, no,
Right.
let's go September 1st. Now it's September 1st and it's still sitting there. They could issue a notice of violation. That's when the notice was. So it's that the item has been there for that period of time. Does that make sense?
yeah, makes sense.
And then the violation period time is separate. Time to remedy once you get a notice of violation.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Moving on. Down to subsection C. It's prohibited to store or place any and all appliances, furniture, including not limited to blah, 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 ranges, refrigerators, mattress, interior tables on the exterior property for the purpose of sale or any other reason except for temporary purpose to perform maintenance on said property. If maintenance is being performed, the items are actively being sold in a yard sale, the items shall not be left unattended. I believe that the last sentence should be eliminated. And again, I think a 60-day timeline should be permitted. I think someone should have the right to put their possessions out on the road for display and for sale. If they don't sell them within 60 days, then they shall be removed. Any comment?
I don't
Are
have
we
any
moving
issue
on?
with that.
Say again?
No, that's fine, I don't have any issue with that.
So you want to take out the line that says shall be left unattended?
I want to take out the line
The
that
whole
says
line.
if maintenance
Maintenance.
is being performed or if the items
Okay,
blah, blah, blah. They shall not be left unattended. If someone puts it out there, you can't expect them to sit there for 60 days while their items are out on the road.
okay.
I think that's reasonable.
Carol Hardy, have a question.
He was working on the same thing. I was gonna say if somebody's working on our house and the stuff is out. But
Right.
that's what you just said, right?
Right,
Thank you.
okay. All right, then moving on. Inoperable vehicles shall not be stored outside on any township property or parked on any township property unless stored within a fully enclosed structure. Exceptions may be granted under the following circumstances. In my view, the word stored outside on any township property references township property.
Property in the township.
Perhaps it be better worded by saying property
in
within Barrett Township.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm a little, I don't know, restrictive on that, but it just doesn't seem to be worded well.
yeah, I agree.
Unless it's different on that one.
Businesses licensed and operated within township zoning ordinance, active repair longer than 30 days. Number 2, property owner is actively engaged in restoration up to 90 days. Item 3, inoperable vehicles may be parked outdoors for up to 7 days. I believe item 3 is, again, too restrictive. I think that should be, be increased to 60 days also. Licensed towing, impounded facility vehicles under the zoning township regulations of our law. And I would suggest that inoperable vehicles, tractors, or other antique-type structures that are used as landscape features be added as an exemption.
I was just thinking the same thing. So I
Then we
agree.
agree. Nicole, if we're going too fast, let me know.
We're good.
And I think it would also be appropriate to give a property owner the option of maintaining the possessions in the front yard, provided they are screened from public view with an opaque 6 or 8 foot high fence as applicable.
Where are you, is
Where are you
that
putting
separate,
that?
up above on the one?
In
Well-
front of your house?
I'm not exactly sure where it would fit, as perhaps maybe in the language, the opening language under subsection D.
Okay.
Unless, you know, it does say unless stored within a fully enclosed structure. That's a little loose to me. Screened from the road with an
So you're
opaque
saying
fence.
fully enclosed structure or screen?
From the road, yeah. To give them the option of, instead of removing screening.
So how does,
Well, an 8-foot high fence requires a permit, correct?
I think
Anything
what he's
over
proposing
6.
is that what it says right now is that you can't have inoperable vehicles on your property unless they're in a fully enclosed
Right,
structure.
there's a fence, so the fence just goes one piece in front of the car or the whole front of the car?
It's just saying, well,
Has
what's
to be
being,
fenced.
what they're saying is being said, screened from view from public road.
No, but like the fence has to go all the way around it, or you just put,
I think it depends where
I
your,
don't
how your
understand
property
why
is
we're
located along the road.
personally, but.
How about if it's your business?
That's an exemption.
That's number one under it. I would ask, does the zoning ordinance address how long maintenance places can keep inoperable vehicles?
Not exactly. I mean, I've been told that the impound yards have about 90 days in which they can keep vehicles in an impound yard.
Yeah, so my thought would be just that we should check to make sure that one doesn't conflict with the zoning ordinance. Because if that allows more time, then that should be expanded to meet that.
Right.
So we have to make 4 and 1 agree?
What was that?
So if they have an inoperable vehicle and they have 60 days and they don't remove it in 60 days and then they decide to put up a fence, they're okay?
I mean, that's what the
Well,
proposal is.
yeah, that's what I'm asking.
And I bet you have to have a permit. but-
Well, I guess it's up to us to recommend whether we think that should be okay or not.
And I don't wanna sound
We have another question.
ignorant to it, but I am ignorant to it. So if the car sits there and on the 61st day, nothing's been done, then what happens?
They could put up a fence.
No, then,
Like, who's,
That
who-
sounds-
now, on the 61st
That's what I'm
day,
saying.
the whoever is charged by the municipality, the township, to enforce the ordinance, could provide them with a notice of violation, saying, you currently are in violation of the ordinance because you haven't removed it within 60 days. And then there is a period of time that they have to act after they get notice, and they have the right to appeal and all that kind of stuff.
so this can go on for months and months and months.
No, they could put up a fence and then it's over,
True,
Do you
true.
have to have a permit for the fence?
Yeah.
if it's
Yeah.
over 6 foot,
No, you need a permit.
Right.
You need a permit for any fence.
even
but-
if it's under 6 foot?
Yes, but any fences over 6 foot also require building permit, and then it's only up to 8.
8 feet high.
Question?
Isn't there already ordinances on the book about inoperable vehicles?
I believe there is in
There is.
property maintenance, yes.
Well, like, doesn't this,
Why are we
why are we rewriting?
Exactly, why are we being redundant? We're wasting
I
time.
think it's to try to make it clearer.
What's clear?
It's-
Well, that's what we're discussing, length of time
It all seems
and
like a
all
bunch
that
of
stuff.
bullcrap to me.
So at what point is the homeowner notified that their car, which has probably been sitting there for years, inoperable? At what point do they get the first notice that you have 60 days to remove it?
I don't know if we've,
I don't
Do
think
we
it's
do
defined.
I don't know if we've gotten there yet.
Okay.
Right now, we're at what you can and can't do. The next section is enforcement and penalties.
Okay.
So, right now, we're getting there.
Okay.
Anything else on subsection D? Then moving on to subsection E. Storage of the following items in areas visible from public rights-of-way or neighboring properties is prohibited. Bulk material, lumber, pipes, fencing, machinery not associated with active maintenance. All such items must be stored within garages, sheds, or behind screening structures.
You don't live in the Poconos,
That is a very restrictive section. I think language needs to be added in regard to construction, bulk materials, lumber, pipes, etc. commonly are stored on properties when building is occurring.
It says not associated with active maintenance, and so I would think that would be including building.
Okay. Not sure I agree with that, but
Okay.
when I think of maintenance, I think of maybe a lawnmower or a yard tractor or something like that.
Okay, I mean, I think that language would, changing that language, not associated with active
Construction or
maintenance,
maintenance.
construction, repairs, or something like that.
Yes.
Okay.
That would
Go ahead, Grant.
clarify it.
Grant has a question.
I think adding the language of properly licensed businesses operating, example, my construction business, I would certainly have materials stored on the property. I don't foresee being able to screen everything, equipment and stuff like that. So I think zoning districts, certain ones should be exempt, industrial, mixed-use village, stuff like that, especially if you're a licensed contractor storing materials for jobs. Kind of like in section D, subsection 1, businesses properly licensed and operating in accordance with township zoning and ordinances may store, and we could switch the materials in. It's absolutely impossible to store everything inside or behind screening in the commercial application.
I agree with that.
Thank you, Greg.
Perhaps we could take subsection D1 and add that into subsection E.
Yeah, the no, I put with adding an
Right.
exemption similar to D1 for properties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would be highly unfair to make someone like Grant have to screen his equipment. Plus, I think it's an advertising prop,
By the time you screen everything, it'll look worse.
Yeah, for sure.
so.
So, excuse me, I have a question. So I plan to get a farming tractor to, plant vegetables and stuff and start tilling the land. Would I have to have that screened in?
No, it was inoperable vehicles was the section before. There was something
It
about
says
operable.
machinery.
It says machinery. So if I buy stuff.
All right, it says not associated with active maintenance, construction, or repairs. I would think your tractor would be associated with farming your property, so.
And maintenance, yeah. So we agree on adding a section with regard to businesses properly licensed and operating in accordance with the township zoning ordinances. And we agreed to add not associated with active maintenance and construction-related
I
activities
said construction or repairs.
or repairs. Okay. Clear, Nicole?
Yep.
Okay. On to F. It shall be unlawful for any person, business to store combustible, flammable, explosive, or hazardous materials, including but not limited to blah, 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 but not limited to waste boxes. If said material is stored in compliance with applicable law. I think that one's pretty straightforward.
Can I store my gas cans, my paint thinner, my paint?
Do you do it lawfully?
What is that?
What does the law mean? Does it have to be in a metal box locked?
I don't know.
I think that's what you need to figure out. As long as it's being
If
stored
you do it
as,
lawfully, you're
as long
fine.
as it's stored as the law tells you to store it, then you're fine.
So, like, what's the point of that then? If it's unlawful, then it's unlawful, right?
Because there's a difference between, like, so there's a question if it's, like, you're supposed to store something in a specific way. Who has the power to enforce that? So someone in the township doesn't
That would be
necessarily.
fire code, wouldn't it?
Nobody has the power enforcement until there's a problem or there's a fire and then they figure out it wasn't an enclosed.
Right, so this allows the township to have the ability to enforce that. If they don't have the township, the township doesn't necessarily have the power to enforce if it's a different type of law? Would it be police or another entity that would have to enforce that?
Excuse me. Quantity, you talk about a half pint, a pint, gallon, 55 gallons, or what?
Again, it's saying as long as it's stored within applicable, as required by applicable law, then
Well, tell us what that is.
Yeah, what is applicable law?
I think that's up to the person storing it to determine what that is.
So that if you come to the house and we say it's legal,
It's
you're
legal.
okay with that?
You're fine.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because it's just not fluids, it's waste paper, boxes. That could be brush, it could be firewood, it could be anything. I mean, you leave it open-ended there.
I'd like to see who's going to the house to check all of that.
Yeah.
Everybody in the township.
So what are the options?
Take that whole section out.
Take it out? So then people can store,
Pull it up and throw it in the garbage.
can store combustible materials?
Yeah, I buy 5 gallons of stain to stay in my house, and I have 2 gallons left, I might retouch it up the following year.
We could sit here and come up with scenarios all evening long.
It makes no sense.
I think what we're trying to say, Greg, is if you're gonna have a law, you have to stay within a guideline, we need the guideline.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to say.
But perhaps maybe it being a little bit loose gives people opportunities to comply. Does it not?
Are there any guidelines?
What's the guideline?
Applicable law.
What's the
You
law to store
can't
boxes?
enforce something on an applicable law when you don't understand it yourself.
But we're not the ones I'm not enforcing it. It would be the township municipal officer who's enforcing it, and they would have to know
You'd
what
have
the
to
law
present
was to tell you that you're
applicable
not
law.
storing it properly.
But you're helping, so how do you understand that?
Can you draw in most microphones closer to you so we can all hear you?
Okay, it's also difficult to hear all of you. If you want to talk, could you come up to the mic and speak so that the people on Zoom and all of us can hear? Because people talking over each other makes it very difficult. And I
Okay.
think one of the things that it's saying, in compliance with applicable laws, I'm not an expert on any of that, but I would think there are regulations about storing gasoline. I don't think you can have 55-gallon drums littering your yard storing gasoline. I think there must be some regulation against that, but I don't know what it is. So
Well, we'll bring it
this
up at
would
the
be,
township meeting. We'll
somebody
ask
would
the person
follow applicable laws.
responsible for
And I think, and I think those laws change depending upon how much you have. Like, I think
Yeah.
there's one way of storing something if you have a gallon of varnish in your garage, and there's another way of storing things if you are, a company that has 55-gallon drums of it. So that's why we can't say exactly what it is, because it's gonna depend upon what it is you have, or what it is you're storing.
If it's commercial or industrial, it's already passed and the law is stated. As long as residential, you're trying to pass this on to residential.
This ordinance deals with everybody within the township, not just residential areas.
Right, but there's no law out there stating that you can't have a pint of stain or thinner or even a gasoline stored for your lawnmower.
Tractors.
Anything.
Basically saying. It's illegal.
So if there is no law, then it doesn't apply, because there's no applicable law that applies to it.
Then let's just strike them.
Oh my God.
Then strike it from
Makes no
your,
sense.
from your booklet.
But I think
Strike
just
it out.
because we don't know what those laws are, doesn't
Well,
mean
then
they
that's
don't
what you say.
exist.
Let me get back to you. Let me look into that and get back to you.
Right. I think that's a
Makes
good
no
answer.
sense.
What about the Zoom comment?
We've all not lived with it the way it is.
You don't have gas in your garage for your
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so guys, Patty did just say if anyone has comments or they want to say something, if you can please orderly go up to the microphone and state your comment or your question, please, with your name.
Okay, moving on.
Sorry, Brick, there is a comment on Zoom.
Proceed.
Maria McWilliams said, to say state, federal, and local laws and regulations, which would probably be a.
That makes
way
sense.
to
Yeah,
make that statement.
yeah. I would agree with that. Okay, subsection G has to do with sidewalks, pedestrian pathways. There are some restrictions in here on how long that snow and ice may remain before being removed
From sidewalks.
from
From
sidewalks.
sidewalks, yes.
It does not specifically say whether they're public or private. I don't think Barrett has too many public sidewalks. Perhaps some around Lewis's Market, but I'm not aware of many others. Any comments on that from the commission?
Considering we have very few, there's not too much places where it's applicable, but if somebody wanted to walk from CVS across the street to Dollar General or to the bank, they have sidewalks and they should be shoveled if you want to be able to use them. So I don't see where this is especially a problem. It's not talking about your personal front porch.
That's
Come.
That's Sichello, Canadensis. So we do have a public walkway right here in this parking lot that goes to the second parking lot. You can't walk on it because it's piled with snow. So is this gonna be applicable to the township, which is public walkway? I like parking in that lot, and I couldn't because there's how much snow piled on top of it.
Good point.
So maybe
point, yeah.
take that into consideration.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, just wanted to say that.
And I didn't come
Thank
that
you.
way, so I didn't see it, but thank you.
You're welcome.
So this gets back to where are the walkways? I mean, they're either in the public right-of-way, which I don't think there are many, or they're on private property. And if they're on private property, I think it's up to the property owner to maintain them.
Well, this is saying even if they're on private property, if there's a sidewalk, then the snow has to be removed from it within 24 hours. It's the ending of the snow or ice.
You'll have to trespass.
Yeah, because that's down at the bottom,
I, for
If
one,
someone
just
is
think
a-
it should be removed.
lessee or property owner, they would have to do that.
I don't think Barrett is in a position at this point, like other municipalities such as Stroud or perhaps Chestnut Hill, that have the walkways that require snow and ice removal, as in like burrows and things like that. I think it should be removed.
I agree.
Plus, within 4 hours
So we'll
yesterday,
ditch
they had
this.
to do it how many times?
Yeah, if you're in agreement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it,
Okay.
it seems to make sense, except that we
Okay.
need to do the township ones. Sorry
Well, I
about
mean,
that.
it's up to everybody to take pride in their property and
Oh, yeah.
clear the ice. My wife is a tax collector, the walkway is cleared and salted. I'm not, but I do it. Never mind. Moving on, enforcement and penalties. Authority to issue tickets. Any public official of the township, including police officers, health officers, code officers, other public officials are authorized to enforce ordinances of the township as a quality of life citation to any property owner or occupant of the property at issue individuals known to have violated this ordinance. Any violation of the provisions of the ordinance shall be cause for a violation ticket or notice of violation to be issued to the violator. That's a lot.
I think it should just be a single person who's authorized by the
Yep.
township to do it. I think having multiple people having the ability to issue violations, it's gonna
You're only
become a
looking for
mess.
trouble.
I agree with that.
Yep.
I agree with that.
I think she has enough on her plate.
I didn't say it have to be her.
Okay.
I just thought it should be one person who's given that job by the township rather than,
Does this apply to private roads?
Issuing tickets?
No, just the violations, these ordinances, if you live on a private road, does this apply?
I think it applies to Barrett Township.
so any property within the township.
Okay. No, I know a neighbor that has all kinds of shit on it, it's disgusting.
I mean, just by way of clarification, some of the provisions say about something that's visible from a public roadway. So if you're on a private roadway and whatever the violation is, isn't seen from a public right of way, then it's not in violation of the ordinance.
But isn't it affecting?
Not everything.
Quality of
What
life?
about the neighbors that
Okay,
have?
I'm just saying, I'm not offering an opinion, I'm just saying what the ordinance provides. For certain things in here, it has to do with whether or not it's screened from view from a public right of way.
Yeah.
So not everything, some things are not said that way, but some things are having to do whether or not it's a view. And if it's a view from a public right of way, and you're on a private street and can't be seen from a public right of way, then no, it wouldn't be applicable. It just depends on,
That's kind
the
of
section.
unfair though, because somebody could have basically a junkyard just because they're on a private road.
Affecting the neighbors surrounding it
Yeah,
would affect quality of life and therefore
and
should
property
be,
value.
should have a violation. Just how I'm
Doesn't it say that if you can see it?
Hmm?
Doesn't it say that if you can see it?
Yeah, but you can't see this one from a public road.
no, some of them says by a neighbor, some say by public road, just, you have to look at the specific section. It's different depending upon what the
So
piece
if it's by
is.
a neighbor, then you could file something? You could file a complaint.
Yes, you could report it to the township and they could issue a violation if it's appropriate.
Yeah, because Part B talks about property that's got a bunch of junk on it, and we just said that that's something you have to clean up, whether you're on a private road or not.
I have a question. Who enforces our ordinances now? It's the zoning officer, right? Building and code officer?
It depends
sewer
on what
enforcement?
what it is. If it's sewage, there's someone for sewage that does it. If it's building, there's someone for building. And if it's a zoning, then it's zoning.
The three I just named, right?
I'm sorry.
The three I just named, the zoning officer, building and code officer, and sewer enforcement officer.
I
They
bel-
enforce our ordinances. Does anybody else enforce them?
I,
Do you
Don't
supervisors
know.
enforce them?
do I?
Yeah.
No.
So then why would we change who enforces our ordinances? This is gonna be an ordinance, right? That's where we were originally, and then we went back and forth like we usually do?
I'm sorry.
Police officers can enforce like
Police
noise
can too,
ordinance,
correct.
stuff like that, so I think
Where it has
leaving,
like health
I think if we
officers
leave the
and,
police officer, code enforcement officer, or any other public official authorized, so say if we authorize somebody to enforce some short-term rentals. So I think if we left the police officers, the code enforcement officer, and any other public official authorized to enforce, it doesn't have to be any public official.
no.
Yeah,
That's too far.
Why would we change who already?
Right, but I think we should leave police officers, code enforcement officers,
Which they already
and a
do.
public official authorized. So if we did expand, we could authorize somebody to enforce
There we
this.
go.
But I think we could symbolize it by that.
Instead of designating one person to enforce just this
Everybody
ordinance.
that's got a Barrett Township jacket on.
Or that too.
Yeah. No, I think that could be simple down to that. I was gonna say.
Sorry.
Well, the way it's written, it wouldn't be one person, right?
Right,
Right.
it'd be everybody.
Correct.
You guys. Good work.
You don't want me to enforce it. Right, Joe?
No badge developed.
Excuse me,
Go ahead.
is there a distance involved? In other words, 100 feet per site with binoculars or what? From the road?
Say it again?
Is there a site involved? In other words, can you just stand, the public official stand at the roadway and say, oh, I see over there you got a violation? Does this incorporate distance?
No. It's at the discretion of the public official.
So you can stand with binoculars for-
We're on service.
What's that?
We're on service. Service of the violation. I
Be
think we're
service.
done with the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. The whole 375-9 enforcement and penalties, I think is too severe. I think it should be rewritten in its entirety, and it should encourage voluntary compliance initially. And give people an opportunity to comply within 30 days, again, within 60 days. And if no action and someone is not taking their pride to maintain their property and correct the violation, then we look at fines and first offenses, second offenses, things like that. But I just think to start fining people $100 after 7 days is asking for trouble, and I think it's dangerous. So my view, not hearing any other comments, is that that section should be rewritten to something more reasonable.
I agree, and I think in talking with people that had to enforce current violations, that a more personal approach is always better.
So we're obviously not going to rewrite that tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, we can get lost in the weeds here, or we can go out to 30,000 feet and say, you know, the whole thing should just be.
And what I'm understanding you saying is you think that it should be service, I mean, my hearing what you're saying is that it should be service of a notice, a time to be able to correct the violation and such before you then go to more stricter
Correct.
imposing of fines. I mean, there is an exception, which I think makes sense, that if it's a hazard, if there is a health hazard or present imminent risk, that the township can take action. Which I think the township could do now if they needed to. But generally, that it's a notice of violation, a time to remedy the violation, and if you don't remedy within a certain period of time, then some action from there.
Correct.
Okay.
I think that the people in Barrett.
Yeah. Brick is saying he thinks that C as a whole is too, the way it's written is too strict, and that should be rewritten as a whole, rather than right now going through and detailing how that should be, but saying that he thinks it should be reworked.
Well, number 5 would take care of our big problem in Canadians.
I can't hear you.
Number 5,
Carol, can you please go to the microphone?
listen, no. Let her talk. I talk loud.
So
Number 5 would certainly take care of all those buildings in Canadensis that need to come down. And then we wouldn't have to have somebody out of towners telling us what to do.
Number 5, regarding the township reserves the right to direct a contractor to perform the abatement?
Yep. Because of health hazards and risks, serves the right to direct the contractor to perform the abatement immediately. The contractor will submit the bill to the township. The township will forward the cost to the violator. That would solve that problem. 30%.
Okay,
And that's more of, health hazard or risk that should be addressed immediately.
Yeah, I think it was saying that
Right.
reworking it such that there would be a section, say that you get notice, ability to remedy once you get notice before proceeding with fines and other enforcement, unless there is a imminent risk to health, safety, welfare.
I think there is there.
Yeah.
And in those two old ordinances, they have the same thing. So it could have been done years ago.
what's your pleasure? Well, without handling this section.
Oh,
I mean,
well,
I suggested
I think she
a
agreed.
rewrite. If
I
you
think Patty
agree.
agreed.
If you agree,
yeah,
then we'll move on.
okay.
That concludes, I believe, the quality of life ordinance. On to part 3, the home repair assistance program. My understanding from the Board of Supervisors is that the funding assistance is not something the township is going to be offering. It's got to be something that's separate from the ordinances, and perhaps a company like Fedco would come into play with that. So I don't think it's appropriate for us to be reviewing that at this
Yeah.
time, because I don't think it's gonna.
It's not something that we
Advance.
would do, or we want to do as the township.
That's part 3.
Yeah.
Moving on to part 4, vacant property registration. That is something that the board requested we look at.
Yes.
Anybody have comments on vacant property registration?
So if a property is vacant, they have to apply for a vacancy permit?
For 90 days.
Are you there?
I don't see where it says,
It's that,
30 days.
yes.
So if the property, all these vacant properties in Barrett should have a permit as of now,
They need to be registered
right, so that, is
within
anybody
30
gonna go after
days.
them?
This is only proposed, it isn't an active,
Yeah, it's not done.
ordinance.
Yeah, but when it becomes a thing,
They're saying
That's
that it's a
what's gonna happen.
it's not a permit, it's a registration.
yeah.
Yep.
So we're telling people that own a second home here, they have to pay an extra $500 if they're not gonna be
No,
here for
there's-
90 days?
If you look, you have to look at the
It'll- it-
definition.
it'll
of
go on the
vacant.
definitions. If you go below that vacant property and you look at definitions,
But we're going through this.
temporary unoccupied due to seasonal use and is maintained in good condition.
I
So-
thought we were going over this stuff word for word. That's what we've been doing.
Right, but that's where we're at, is vacant property now. We're on the definitions of vacant property registration. What we skipped over was because it was
On page 13.
for bed, we said about bed going, it was about, sections that we really shouldn't be reviewing.
What's up with that?
Section, part 3, the Board of Supervisors has asked us not to review because they
Right.
don't intend on enacting it at this time.
Right.
So they've asked, they said, we're not considering this section, so you don't have to review it, move on to section 4.
Understood.
And that's under their advice to us.
Their
So we don't need
direction.
to review it. Because they're not putting it they're not putting it into play, I would assume, correct?
Yeah.
At
Right.
this time. I don't know if they plan on doing it in the future or not, but right now they told us not to review it.
Can I ask a quick question?
So in the definitions for vacant properties, it says
Please go up to the microphone.
that it doesn't include seasonal homes and places that are for sale or for lease. It talks about nothing that's under renovation. If the owner of record is deceased, then, that doesn't have to be registered. We're talking about buildings where somebody buys them mostly on spec, get them at a sale, a property tax sale or whatever, and then just leaves them abandoned on the idea that someday they'll be worth money. I mean, the most scary one has to be the people that bought that mausoleum and it's falling apart and bodies are falling out and, they bought the property and never did
Well,
anything with it.
leaves them abandoned and not maintained.
Yeah, so people that buy properties aren't maintaining them, they're empty. We're trying to look at a way to register those and keep track of them.
Is
Yes.
this for Bedco, or is this for, this whole thing for Bedco, or is this?
No.
for the township?
It's a
No.
township.
All right, because I was off a little bit when he said this one section relates to Bedco.
No, he was saying that we're not doing that section if the property repair place. Maybe Bedco wants to do something separately in relation to
Oh, 'cause
home
you mentioned
repairs.
Bedco, that's the only reason.
That's
I
all. He
questioned
was
it,
just saying that
because
the township wasn't dealing with
That
that
makes it sound
section.
like this was Bedco.
Did you go to
No.
the Bedco meeting?
Yeah, I was there.
So you understand Bedco?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to clarify that.
Good.
Yeah, the township is not gonna be,
I'm not
Issuing
familiar with
loans.
the old ordinances, and I know that's my fault, but are these vacant property ordinances in the old ones, or is this new?
There are no old ones.
Okay.
There are no old ones.
There's not an old vacant property ordinance that I'm aware of.
All right, that's good, then that's something that hopefully gets done.
yeah, this is something we're looking at now.
This is something proposed to help deal with the blight,
Very good.
Canadensis and blighted properties.
Well, that's a great idea.
Agreed.
Yeah.
We always hear vacation.
You want to read checks into that, or are we just saying in general no one has a problem?
Say again?
Question?
Yeah, this is another ordinance, correct, the vacant property thing? Well, it says any township employee or agent can enforce it.
Same
Don't you
issue.
think that we should change that like we did the other one?
I'm not sure what line you're on.
He's on.
13 on the bottom, code enforcement officer.
Oh, okay.
I don't see this as any,
Any township employee.
Well, it doesn't mean that any employee can do it, it's any employee designated by the township, so
It
if
says any
we,
employee or agent designated
By the township.
by the township.
right,
Any
Is that
employee,
just the definition for code enforcement officer?
well then, well, they changed it on the other one.
I know, but I think you're reading this wrong. I think you
I-
just
So
given.
the
I see how he's
township would
reading it.
Yeah,
He's
they're
reading
just
it
saying
two separate
okay, I see.
versions. Any township employee designated by the township or any agent designated by the township. Would that clarify your issue?
Well, it says any township employee.
But
So
that's,
anybody that has a township.
No,
Right, they've got to be designated by the township to have the authority to do what this
But that's
says.
not how it's worded. That's not how I'm
That's-
taking it.
That's what they
who
said.
is the township employee that's hired to enforce the property maintenance regulations?
that's the definition of a code enforcement officer. So a code enforcement officer is any township employee designated by the township to enforce the property maintenance regulations.
Okay.
I agree with you, it's a
But I
little
can add
bit,
designated after employee as
Little
well.
bit.
If it
Yeah.
said a designated or a township and not any,
Okay,
That's what.
that makes,
That's a good point, yeah,
The code enforcement officer is a township employee or agent.
that's a good point.
Question, who's gonna do the research on the property to see if it's a vacation home? Somebody that's on leave somewhere else in the military or something that leaves the house, who's gonna do that research to see if it's in compliance there?
A designated township employee.
Good luck, that'll be one a year.
It's crystal clear.
do we want military left put in there?
What's that? It should be an exemption, right?
Yeah, it seemed like a good exemption. It's not, but it seemed like it should be.
I thought it wasn't.
Is it? Am I missing it?
I thought I saw it. I thought military and vacation rentals and things.
I didn't see military.
I didn't see military either.
The military was in one of those sections.
Okay, I think it
But
should be in
but
here.
military should be in there.
Someone on active military leave.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Or maybe, just a thought out loud, is it that it's not a vacant property, or that maybe the fee is waived if it's because of military? Just a question, because if someone owns a house and they're away for, I don't know, maybe you're stationed somewhere for a year or 2 years, the township may still have an interest in having someone they can contact regarding that property or know something about it, but maybe that you wouldn't have to pay the fee.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because, I mean, the property could, fall into, poor condition if there was no one to take care of it.
I think
So waive
most
the fee.
people go away that
Agree.
long, they have somebody in charge.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it might still be considered vacant depending on how long someone is deployed, but that they shouldn't have to pay a fee to register it as
Right.
vacant.
Agreed.
I agree with that.
Just a suggestion.
All right, anything else on part 4, vacant property registration? Okay, then moving on to part 5, asset attachment, and part 6, conservatorships. Those two sections are also not to be considered by the planning commission. The township doesn't, according to the supervisor, the township doesn't seem to be interested in pursuing those. So we don't need to look at those.
Good.
Can you hear me?
You can.
Okay.
And I think that concludes the property
We're doing away
maintenance
with part
ordinance?
5 and 6?
Yeah.
Yes.
So have to open the door for other people to jump on it? The blighted properties?
I'm sorry, say again?
Does that have to open the door for others to jump on the property, the blighted properties?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, those are all like, basically take away. So does that have to open the door for other corporations to take the property that are, to purchase them for next to nothing?
The blighted property are still owned by people, and if a private individual wants to purchase property, the township doesn't have any control over that.
I'm not talking about the township, I'm talking about like Bedco purchasing someone else's property.
But anybody
Like all
could,
conveyances.
anybody could purchase anybody's property.
But if it's eminent domain or conservatorship, it's different, it's not the same as just buying it from someone.
Where are you getting eminent domain and conservatorship?
It's basically on the same principle.
In the back.
But nothing that we talked about
I know
tonight.
the township's not
Yeah.
gonna, but is it to open the door for other corporations to do so?
Well, any corporation can buy any property as long as they have an agreement with the owner.
It's a yes.
So I would
You
say,
condemn it and then someone else purchases it.
No one's condemning anything though.
No.
Say that now.
That's a good point.
I'm just looking at other properties, like Kennedence's, if you guys condemned them or whatever, said they had to be tore down, then someone else comes and buys it. To tear it down.
Okay.
At a much cheaper rate.
Because it's been condemned.
Yes.
All right, that concludes the, where am I here? That concludes the review of chapter 375, property maintenance ordinance changes. Moving on to item 8, sketch plans, there are none. And on to item 9, planning business, there's none. It's the end of the agenda. I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Okay, before we adjourn, I just want to make sure everybody notices that we had to change the supervisor meeting dates for the supervisor meeting in December 17th, that Wednesday. We're changing it to Thursday, the 18th, so that we can get the data center ordinance to have its 20 days of review before we can accept it. So the meeting will not be on Wednesday, the 17th. It'll be on Thursday, the 18th. Okay? And then we canceled Christmas Eve meeting.
That was nice.
But there is a meeting on December 10th, correct?
There is a meeting on December 10th at the regular 6:30 time,
Okay.
and the 18th will also be at the 6:30 time. And it's a regular meeting, not a workshop, which is what it usually would be on the third Wednesday of the month.
No.
Because the Board of Supervisors is not in planning to enact that at this time and asked us not to review it.
I'm in the meeting.
Will any strangers come in from out of town and tell us what to do?
No, that section's not happening at all.
It's going to go away?
Yeah, the township's not, the Board of Supervisors have told us they're not considering adopting that provision at this time and told us not to review it.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay?
Do we usually authorize me to advertise the reorg meeting, or does the Board of Supervisors authorize us to?
The reorg meeting? I'm not sure. I'm working on that one right now.
Like, I'm wondering if you guys,
No, you can authorize that,
I would say you should
Yeah.
authorize me
Yeah.
to organize, to advertise the January.
6 reorganizational meeting. Yeah. Yes.
No.
So we'll make,
That's a planning commission, they're an advisory board, the supervisors.
Yeah, but that meeting it's just that the meeting, to advertise the meeting.
Right, so the supervisors have to give you the okay to advertise that. They're an advisory board to the supervisors.
But we need to comply with the law and the advertising
Right, you
requirements.
can't authorize her to advertise a reorganization meeting, correct?
Well, it's just advertising that the meeting happens. Not that,
All right, just for
it's fine, the Board of
semantics.
Supervisors can do it. You accept, then once
As far as
once
the
we do the reorg, I mean, I usually do the advertisement, so I'm just,
As far as the planning commission is concerned, you're authorized to do it. I'd ask that you just check with the Board
the
of
Board of Supervisors
Supervisors,
can authorize it and they can advertise it, that's
as they're the
fine.
ones paying the bill. Anything else to come before the planning commission? Hearing none, then we'll stand adjourned at 6:30. Thank you for coming.
Report